The moment most people hear World War II home defence, they think of blackouts or sandbags. What almost no one remembers is that millions of ordinary civilians were taught a quiet, layered and honestly, brutally effective system of home protection that required no modern electronics, no alarms, and no constant power. Before we go any further, if you care about overlooked wartime history and practical survival knowledge that still works today, subscribe to After the Sirens right now and leave a comment sharing what era of defensive history you want covered next. This channel exists for people who want substance, not surface-level storytelling. During World War II, governments understood something many modern homeowners have forgotten. Most intrusions succeed because defenders rely on a single barrier. Locks fail, doors break, people sleep. The forgotten defence I'm talking about is the concept of layered civilian obstruction and early warning defence, quietly implemented across Britain, parts of occupied Europe, and even rural America. It wasn't a single trap or device. It was a system designed to delay, expose, and psychologically deter intruders long before confrontation occurred. What makes it remarkable is that every element still works today, even against modern criminals. This defence begins with the principle that time is the defender's greatest weapon. World War II civil defence manuals emphasised that an intruder who is slowed, disoriented, or forced to make noise is far less likely to succeed. The first layer was external denial. Homes were modified so approach paths were narrow, irregular, and uncomfortable. Gravel beds, uneven stone paths, loose wooden slats, and low obstacles were intentionally placed near windows and entry points. At night, these surfaces amplified sound. A person moving quietly across soil can be nearly silent. A person crossing gravel or loose debris cannot. Today, this same principle can be applied by deliberately choosing ground cover that produces noise rather than absorbs it, especially beneath windows and along side yard access routes. The second layer was visual concealment without accessibility. Contrary to modern landscaping trends that favour open sightlines, wartime guidance often encouraged controlled visual obstruction. Shrubs were trimmed low enough to prevent hiding, but irregular enough to break clean movement. Windows were shielded internally, not externally, using blackout curtains that prevented light leakage without advertising occupancy patterns. A dark house does not mean an empty house. Modern application is straightforward: avoid predictable lighting schedules and eliminate clear visual confirmation of interior layout from outside. Intruders prefer certainty. World War II defenders removed it. The third layer was internal noise traps, and this is where the history becomes truly fascinating. Civilians were taught to rig simple sound alert systems inside their homes using household objects. Metal cups on strings behind doors, loose boards on stairwells, stacked glass jars in hallways, and hanging objects near entry points created unavoidable noise when disturbed. These were not booby traps meant to injure. They were alarms designed to wake sleeping occupants and signal which direction an intruder was moving. In today's terms, this is passive, power-free intrusion detection. Anyone can replicate this by placing sound-producing obstacles along nighttime movement paths, especially near doors, staircases, and transition points between rooms. The fourth layer was defensive compartmentalization. WWII manuals advised families to retreat upward or inward rather than confront intruders immediately. Bedrooms became last defense zones. Furniture was positioned to block doors. Heavy wardrobes were angled to create choke points. Even simple door wedges could delay forced entry long enough to escape through secondary exits or prepare defensive tools. The critical insight here is that defense does not mean standing your ground at the front door. It means controlling space. Modern homeowners can apply this by identifying fallback rooms, reinforcing door hinges, and practicing movement routes that do not rely on panic or improvisation. Psychological deterrence was the fifth and often overlooked layer. You see, WWII defenders understood that intruders fear uncertainty more than resistance. Signs of occupancy, unexpected noise, irregular interior layouts, and delayed access created the impression that a house was actively defended. Even trained soldiers, hesitated when movement triggered noise and shadows shifted unexpectedly. Criminal behavior today follows the same psychological patterns. A home that feels unpredictable is, more often than not, abandoned in favor of an easier target. What makes this forgotten WWII system so powerful is that it requires no constant maintenance and no technology dependency. Power outages, signal jammers, and system failures do not affect gravel, noise traps, or compartmentalized interiors. These methods were designed under bombing conditions, scarcity, and fear, which is precisely why they remain relevant. They were tested not by theory, but by necessity. Applying this knowledge today is not about turning your home into a fortress. It's really about adopting a mindset that values delay, detection, and denial over confrontation. Start by walking your property at night and, listening instead of looking. Identify silent approaches and make them noisy. Examine your interior layout from the perspective of someone who does not belong there. Ask where movement would be fastest and interrupt it. None of this requires extreme measures. It just requires awareness, intention, and respect for historical knowledge that has been quietly discarded. This is the kind of civilian defense wisdom that history books rarely highlight, yet it protected countless families during one of the most dangerous periods in modern history. If you found this valuable, subscribe to After the Sirens. Share this episode with someone who values real historical insight, and leave a comment letting us know which forgotten survival system you want uncovered next.